Congratulations! If you're watching this video, then you have been seriously considering buying or investing in a commercial cleaning franchise. And what this video is designed to do is to tell you kind of what I experienced throughout my journey with the Jani-King franchise, and to give you 5 things that you want to look out for before you actually purchase a franchise. So without any further ado, let's go into the video. So the 5 things that I wish I knew before I actually got started in the commercial cleaning business are going to go as follows. Number 1, you want to do your research on your franchise. There are dozens of franchises out there that claim to have the best packages and that will say that they'll guarantee you this amount of business and they can give you this many contracts. But what you want to do is you actually need to do some research. You can go to the company's website. So before I purchased my Jani-King franchise, I actually went over to Jani-King.com. I made a couple phone calls. I scheduled a meeting to go in and ask them some questions about the things that I didn't understand as it pertained to their marketing material. And this is how I came to a conclusion that for my area, this is the franchise that I wanted to purchase. Number 2, you need to understand the costs that are going to be associated with purchasing a franchise. There are going to be tons of things such as royalty fees, finder's fees, insurance fees, accounting fees. And if you're not careful, all of these fees will actually cause your business to suffer a lot more than it needs to. So you want to be mindful when they're talking about how many fees are going to be associated with the package that you're purchasing. Number 3, you want to know the territory. Franchises operate based on territories. And so in order for you to have a successful business, you want to make sure that the franchise that you're buying into actually is able to supply the business that you need in order to scale your business. You want to read that franchise agreement. Inside the franchise agreement, there's a lot of fine print in there, and they have a lot of jazzy salesmen that are going to convince you that, oh yes, the best investment that you could make. But I wouldn't go based on anyone's word, because if you don't read that franchise agreement, you can find yourself in a lot of sticky situations. And almost like me, I found myself to get trapped inside of the business because I just kept on taking contracts, and I only had a loose understanding of what the franchise agreement was talking about. And number 5, before you purchase a franchise, you actually want to see if you can talk to some franchise owners. There are plenty of people out there who are purchased commercial cleaning franchises who would be more than willing to give you the information. So I purchased a Jani-King franchise back in 2018. So it's been about 5 years now. It's 2023. And I bought it just based on the recommendation of a couple of entrepreneurs that I knew. And in purchasing a franchise, they hadn't quite bought Jani-King franchises, but they were invested in Coverall and CleanNet and JanPro. And just based on my territory, I find that Jani-King actually has a pretty good stronghold out here. And I decided to pay the $10,000 investment. And just with the help of my mentors, I was able to grow my business from about $0 to $250,000 in my first year. But before I actually purchased the franchise, I did a lot of research because I was seeing some articles on YouTube and some blog posts online that a lot of people who purchased the Jani-King franchise seem to be disgruntled with the service that they received from the franchise. And so over the course of the last 4 or 5 years now, I'm just going to explain some of the things or some of the hiccups that I encountered. So I want to address the biggest con when it comes to buying a franchise. And this would be the elephant in the room, known as all of the fees. You've got royalty fees, finder's fees, business insurance fees, accounting fees, and they describe all of these fees in the franchise disclosure agreement. But if you don't really understand what they're saying, then you want to ask questions to the sales representatives of the franchise until you have a thorough understanding. A perfect example of one of the ways that people say that the franchise method or franchise model may be a scam is because they actually charge you an insurance percentage for your insurance. So an example of that would be, let's say you're making $10,000 a month in your commercial cleaning business, and they say, well, your business insurance protection is going to be 12%. And you can only use this insurance unless you can find another plan that's comparable or greater to the one that the franchise is offering. And I'll go into that in a second. But let's just say you make $10,000 every single month and you're paying 12% in insurance. It doesn't seem like it's that much. It's $1,200, and depending on how many employees you have, it may seem reasonable. I guess in regards to the liability limits that are being offered. Now, When you start to make $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 a month, you can see how paying a percentage-based insurance fee is going to become a problem. So you're making $100,000 a month in revenue and you're paying $12,000 for insurance, which personally, this is absolutely outrageous. And as my business started to grow, I was actually seeing how Jani-King was making a lot of their money just based on me providing services to all of the clients. Now, the business protection insurance, what they will tell you is that it's not mandatory, but technically it is. Jani-King offers a $20 million liability policy, and they actually use this as one of the marketing points when they go out to do their sales pitches for their potential customers. And what they'll say is something along the lines of, we offer $20 million in liability coverage, so the person who comes to clean your facility, even if they mess up, will make sure that you are covered with everything, down to the from the building to the equipment to the people. And this is a good selling point for the franchise, but for the franchise owner, it actually becomes detrimental. The main reason it hurts the franchise is because when you start to grow your business, you want to be able to have as much capital free as you can. And just knowing that you have to pay 12% in perpetuity of your life with the franchise isn't a very good deal. So I can see why most people would feel like a part of the franchise model is definitely a scam. The second set of fees that I was really skeptical about after I've been running my franchise for a few years was the advertising and marketing fees. So there are going to be some fees associated. You get a franchise report every single month, and you're going to see that they have a breakdown, and it's about 29 different categories that show you all of the fees that you're actually paying for. And one of the things that I noticed was the finder's fees that I was paying on my accounts, or my advertising fees and marketing fees. And technically, if a business is operating, then the advertising and marketing should be in the business's name. But since you are paying for the franchise's model, it means that you're using the franchise's name, which means that they pay for the advertisements for you. Now, this could be a good thing if the franchise in your territory is supplying you with constant and consistent business. But it's absolutely horrible, and I'm pretty sure that most franchise owners will agree with me when I say this, is that a lot of franchises don't offer consistent business. And the business that they do offer, it seems to slow down after they've given you that initial 160 contracts, 160-day period where they have to fulfill your contractual obligation in the franchise disclosure. Let's say, for example, you're paying about 5 or 10% in advertising. Let's say 5% in advertising. And if you're making $100,000 a month, this means you're paying $5,000 in advertising. Well, if you know anything about advertisements, technically you're supposed to be getting a 2-to-1 return on every dollar advertised. This means that if you spend $5,000 for ads in your business, you should be getting none other than about $10,000 in actual business to replace the cost that you had to spend to acquire business. This is pretty bad for the franchise owner because that percentage is going directly to Jani-King. And when was the last time you ever saw a Jani-King commercial? When was the last time you saw a franchise advertising on social media? Probably never. And so you can see where there are some discrepancies where, I guess, justifying this advertising fee to the franchise owner, I guess there was going to be some pushback. I guess there was a lot of pushback for me, I can say. One of the third biggest fees that you are going to encounter are the finder's fees. The finder's fees are the costs you pay for business. And if you look at it, in the beginning, if you don't know anything about running a business, I think that paying for those finder's fees is actually good. But as you start to grow and learn the ropes of the commercial cleaning business, you actually won't, I don't think that it's a necessity that you continue to take business from the franchise. And I say this because you're going to end up spending, let's say for a $4,000 contract, the franchise is going to charge you 3 times the dollar amount for it, meaning that it costs $12,000 to buy this contract. Now, it's going to guarantee you the $48,000 that you would make in a year with an expense of $12,000, so a profit of $36,000, give or take. Of course, you have to have your payroll that's included in that. But if you just look at the numbers, you'll kind of see that if you just hired an additional company that can supply you with business, there's no need for you to do business in the franchise's name, and this will actually help you to avoid some of those finder's fees that could cost your business in the future. One of the things that I didn't know about finder's fees that I wish I knew before I bought the franchise is that if you lose a contract just based on a client being disgruntled with the services that you're offering, you're going to be liable for paying those finder's fees for the duration of the contract, even if you're not servicing the contract, which is absolutely absurd. There should be some type of agreement between the franchise and the franchise owner, that in understanding that this absolutely is unsustainable for a business owner to be doing. But you start to see how greedy the franchises become and how predatory they can be in some of the fees that are associated with the franchise. An interesting story about, so those are some of the main fees that are going to be associated with purchasing a franchise. I just want you to do some due diligence before you jump into this or make a large investment. So you have companies like JanPro that offer a $900 buy-in for their franchise equipment and their to use their brand name and their brand model. And you have companies like Jani-King who may say that, like for the area that I'm in, it's a $10,000 buy-in fee. And just to make sure that you're getting all of your money back, you need to have some type of system or some type of plan. And I'm going to be uploading a few more videos to kind of tell you guys how I actually experienced a lot of success with using the commercial cleaning franchise method. But I'm also going to be uploading some information about how you can get started in the commercial cleaning industry without going the franchise method. It's going to save you a ton of money. So please like and subscribe. I want to make sure that I give you this information from the perspective of someone who's actually spent the money and has gone the route of the franchise and actually knows about building businesses, whether they're from scratch or whether they're from franchise models. So stay tuned. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Again, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'm going to be uploading a lot more content here in the future.